Looks like we have,
today.
what was that?
Had my retirement today.
Oh, yeah. Hold on a second. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back now. Well, welcome everyone. And I'm sure you've been looking forward to this day for a long time. Tonight's going to be kind of very similar, as I mentioned before. Let me just kind of review. We're going to go through the briefing. I'm going to sit here quietly. Don't ask me any questions unless there's a technical difficulty, like we get stuck or screen freezes, and start the clock, and then we'll go through to the end. After that, I'm going to ask each one of you to do a self-critique from the presentation. And so generally that's going to be the format. But before we start, kind of let me check with you guys where you are with the champion, and also if you have any questions.
The champion received the whole presentation. He received the recommendation to sign that, and he received that today around 12 o'clock, and I've asked for him to hopefully send us his signature tomorrow sometime. So we're hoping we'll have that tomorrow.
Okay.
We also told him to put in there, like, if he has any comments or any changes, he can add it onto the review so that we can upload that into the tracker.
Okay. Do you have any idea what he might say?
The last time I talked to him, he was on board with the recommendations, so I don't think he'll have a lot to say about disagreeing with them. I don't know if, like, he'll maybe want to change some of them, like the wording just a little bit or anything like that.
All right. Okay, well, good.
I'm sorry for the noise in the background.
Yeah, I will need that before I can close this out. So as soon as you get it, please forward it to me. And if there's any preconditions or things like that, we may, need to have you back to address those, depending if there are. It doesn't sound like there, in this case, that there will be. So, but I need to see that as soon as you get it, if you would. Thanks.
Yes, sir, I will. I'm hoping he'll send it sometime tomorrow, because I sent it to him about 12 o'clock today. So. Okay.
Good. All right. Well, how about any questions from the rest of you concerning the process tonight, the course, or anything at all?
Criteria for graduation, sir?
The criteria for graduation, did you say? Was that
passing.
Huh?
Yes, sir. Like I know that I read about it briefly in location and anything else that we need to do and what are the criteria.
Yeah. The graduation, as long as you're financially taken care of, there's no other issues, administratively, such as finance would be any item. Tonight, basically, as we go through, we used to do a jury review where we'd have three professors would get together, listen to the team's final briefing, and then confer and then determine what will be if you met the criteria that your project has demonstrated the results, the team has also briefed and demonstrated an understanding of the tools and concepts. NGS changed that a while back and basically kind of said the lead faculty now has that capability because one, we probably know most about the project and about the teams. And so tonight, after we do the final briefing and after we go through the feedback, I'll give you feedback on your project and provide a recommendation for your graduation from the academic standpoint. So completion of this course, that recommendation, and then basically those are the requirements that I know of. The new school that has NECB, I'm not sure how they work graduations. NGS used to have once a year where they would actually have a ceremony up in Washington, D.C. area, not too far from the Pentagon, actually, in a hotel. And then we would have students come in from all parts of the country that had participated in degree programs, all the way from the baccalaureate, master's, and including the GBA there. And there was a ceremony, a procession, speeches. Family were invited and had a chance to kind of meet face to face for the first time. I don't think NECB does that ceremony. I haven't heard anything about a ceremony. I do, so I think that they'll probably mail you out your diploma. I don't know about their operations. I don't know how their procedures are. I do know how NGS used to. In fact, we used to have, a long time ago, the students used to brief at the ceremony. Their families would be there, the champion would be there, and everybody else in the cohort would be there. And they would do the briefings in the morning, and then we would have the graduation ceremony in the afternoon. But that's the evolution of that. Did I answer your question, Judith?
Yes, sir, because I think what I read was about, I think teammates, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but somewhere in June or May, I think some of us were looking forward to going, but if that's different with NEC, I forgot the acronyms, but we'll have to wait and see what they tell us.
Yeah, you're going to have to see what what their procedures are. We haven't been informed because they're pretty much allowing us to be autonomous in the same format, so we don't cross over too much into new curriculum and new portals and those type of things. But NGS, when you first probably joined or there was something written, it is usually typically first week in May or June, excuse me, is when that graduation occurred. So that was something which I believe was an NGS program and policy. NECB is actually in Boston. So probably if there would be anything, it would probably be up in that neighborhood. That's where they're headquartered. But if there is a graduation ceremony, I usually attend. I've had a great opportunity to mingle with the students. We get a chance to meet face to face. If you do have that capability to travel up, a lot of people did bring family and saw Washington as well as attended the ceremony. So if that does occur, I hope to see some of you. Any other questions? Yeah, thanks. Any other comments or questions then?
Hello, Professor. I had I don't know, just a question. We have another product for our slides, but it's a worksheet. It's an Excel worksheet, and we were trying to figure out how to add a hyperlink to the PowerPoint.
It's a demonstration of one of the tools.
I guess it's a product that Matthew designed. And what it does, it allows the unit to be able to track the recommendations that we've given them.
Okay. Probably the best thing to do, because I see an Excel spreadsheet attached to your email, but is to take a screenshot of that and maybe include that into your presentation if you want to include that.
Okay.
But we'll just use tonight what you have in your presentation. So as we go forward. Okay. How about Matthew? What portion how is that going to be worked? Have you discussed what the process is? Again, is it going to be similar to what we did in MBB2? There's a portion that someone's going to read, or does he have written notes?
Yes, sir. He has a script. He will be giving it to me to read for him.
Okay. All right.
The sequence will be. Sir, the sequence will be Megan, DeCarlo, myself, Matthew, and then Jay.
Okay. All right. Okay. Are you guys ready? Okay. I can be the slide flipper for you, if you will. When you're ready for the next slide, just tell me next slide. If there are graphics that fly in, tell me click again. So I can do that in regards to managing the slides for you, unless somebody wants to do that. Okay.
We'll take you up on your offer, sir.
Okay, I finally got something I can handle. Okay. All right. Well, I have 7:13. So if you are ready, if no further questions, you may begin.
This is Team Prom Aircraft. Our team members include Judith, Jay, Matthew, myself, and DeCarlo. And this is our master business project, aircraft readiness, parts availability. Next slide. This just gives an introduction of the team members. I just mentioned them a few minutes ago. Next slide. This slide shows our champion and our guiding coalition. These people will be talked about a little later on throughout the presentation. We have worked really closely with Lieutenant Colonel Christopher Dunson, and he will be talked about later throughout the presentation. Next slide. So the strategic priorities and project goals. The project goals were to assist the sponsor in helping keeping the readiness rate above 82% for every month of the year. And we also wanted to help for the 100% availability of parts and or access to parts with minimal waiting time, which could occur to unscheduled maintenance or repair. Next slide. This gives a representation of the DMAIC model. It breaks each section out. The DMAIC model is a data-driven quality strategy for improving processes. It is one of the core tools that can be used to help drive Six Sigma projects. The first stage we will go into is the define stage. And in the define stage, we define problems and objectives. We plan the project, process mapping, plan for change, and secondary metrics. Next slide. So this is our first stage in the define. was our problem statement, and our problem statement was that the average mission capable, the MC rate for the 71st Squadron was 85.7. The Air Combat Command's standard mission capable rate was 82% per month, and the squadron failed to meet that goal 4 months of that year, which caused a failure to be mission ready for those months. So our team wanted to determine options to help improve the monthly MC rate and to reduce the number of substandard months. Next slide. This slide gives you the 5 whys of the part procurement process. Like I just said in the problem statement, there was delay in the part procurement, which was causing the FMC rate to drop below. Some of the whys for that was that the non-mission capable were without parts for an unknown period of time. There was non-value added components or time dependent. The non-value added components are strictly not necessary to complete the mission of replacing that broken part with the new one. So in conclusion, we wanted to look at the non-value added components of that parts procurement process and the points of improvement that could increase the FMC rate. Next slide. So this was the current process map that included the inclusions and exclusions. The process chart, it can help to show the scope, and it shows what's included and excluded. It is the as is. It's the expansion of the process part of the SIPOC diagram. And the ones highlighted in orange show the exclusion. So those were scheduled maintenance and vendors' internal supply chain management. And then the ones in green were our inclusion.
Mic loud because I've got a problem with.
So the ones in green were the inclusion, and some of those include the part storage and part delivery times to evaluate the Air Force customer-vendor relations when a part was broken, and determining how maintenance shifts affect the ordering process. Next slide.
Here we have our SIPOC process map. The SIPOC is a tool that we use to identify all relevant elements of process improvement. As you can see, it is similar and related to process mapping, but with additional detail. Here we consider the suppliers of the process, the inputs to the process that we are improving, the outputs of the process, and the customers that receive the process outputs. As you can see, at the core of this process is broken aircraft that are identified, parts are ordered, parts are delivered and received, and the aircraft are then fixed and returned to fully mission-capable status. The identified suppliers include contractors such as Rolls-Royce and Lockheed Martin, and others such as the Logistics Readiness Squadron and supply warehouses. The contractors offer access to non-procurable parts, while the Logistics Readiness Squadron picks up the one-for-one parts and delivers them. And the supply warehouses receive the ordered parts, stores them, and categorizes them. Moody Air Force Base, as the customer, receives the ordered parts from the suppliers. Next slide. At the end of the define phase, we have our customer requirements matrix. This is a quality and business improvement tool that is used for tracking and addressing requirements and identifying the features that a product or a service should have. With this, we are able to understand the quality characteristics, what to measure, and know the targets by being able to establish the ranking order of the process that is being measured. The customer, that is Moody Air Force Base, requires availability, operational, and timely delivery of the parts. And all parts have to be available and accessible at all times.
and they have to be serviceable and be delivered on time. These characteristics may be measured by checking the number of parts that are not available, that were received but not serviceable, and the number of days it has taken for the parts to be delivered. Next slide. As part of our measure phase, we have tabulated our data collection plan. The data collection plan improves the likelihood that the data and measurements can be used to support our analysis. In building this data collection plan, we had to clearly define its goals and objectives, identify operational definitions and methodology, and ensure that the data would be reproducible and stable. With our timeline running from July 2016 to October 2017, we wanted to collect data relating to fully mission-capable rates and standards, parts ordering processes for non-mission capable aircraft, and survey data from military occupants. Next slide. As part of the analyze phase, we have included a fishbone diagram for the non-mission capable aircraft. The fishbone diagram is a cause and effect diagram that assists us in identifying the many possible causes for the problem. Based on the problem statement, we have identified the major causes of the problem to be the parts order process, pickup and delivery, the warehousing, and also mainly the supply and vendors. We have also identified these to be caused by issues such as communication, the parts control, the database availability, timeframes, the location of the warehouses that also contributes to the processing timeframe as well. Next slide. We have used a Pareto chart to demonstrate the parts procurement problem for the non-mission capable aircraft. This graph helps us to demonstrate which sources are more significant, and the lengths of the bars represent the time as in the average non-mission capable days per month. So as you can see, of our problem areas, the vendor's parts control play a significant role in the number of average days per month that an aircraft remains non-mission capable, and the parts availability and warehouse parts storage location are not of much significance in this analysis. This analysis concludes that the vendor parts control, parts serviceability, and warehouse processing time frame appears to be plus minus 80% of the problem sources. And these are the sources that we would focus on for high gain improvements. Next slide. Here we have our current state value stream map. This is a representation of the flow of materials, in this case parts, from the supplier to the customer, as well as the flow of information. It enables us to see at a glance where the delays in the process are, as well as the restraints and any other excessive inventory. Our value stream map flows from the 72 3rd Rescue Squadron to the pilot's aircrew rescue team. From the top, it includes the core process, as identified in the current process map, and the SIPOC. In addition, we have included how the customer orders the product. We have also created a timeline that gives us information on the total process times and lead times. As you can see, we have highlighted the value adding and non-value adding activities to this process, some of which value adding, such as removing the broken parts from the aircraft and repairing and or checking operations, and some that are non-value adding, such as the aircraft baking. With this data, we have calculated the non-value adding activities to take about 1.5 to 18 days of time, and the value adding activities to save up about 0.46 to 0.92 days. So from this data, we are able to draw conclusions and see where we can cut some of the non-value adding activities which take up too much time to create a leaner process for improvement. Next slide.
So with this, in the analyzed phase of the MVP, we needed to determine the root cause of variation in poor performance defects. And our determination was that one major defect was with the supply chain. The supply chain mapping that you see now for the 723rd Maintenance Quadrant showed us the convoluted, very complicated supply chain process that the maintenance team has to go through in order to get the parts for the aircrafts. As you can see, they receive 40% of their parts from the vendors and 60% from the supply units on base. And even with the supply units being on base, they had to go off base as well as part of their Air Force supply chain. And the vendors, as you will see throughout this MVP, the vendors have been one of our crucial key piece that we needed to resolve, the problem that we needed to work and resolve. Slide, please. In the improved phase of the DMAIC process, we try to generate potential solutions and assess their failure modes. We also try to validate AD pilot solutions as needed and process control and risk analysis. In order to do that, we use the benchmarking slides, which is a measurement of the quality of the organization's policies, products, programs, and strategies, and doing a comparison with standard measurements or similar measurements of their peers. So what we did with our secondary benchmarking research, we're able to find similar situations within the Air Force and also outside of the Air Force with the Army. My research led me with the Army, how they resolve their supply management of parts and for their vehicles. And as you see with this research, our team looked at internal processes. We looked at generic sources such as the Navy, Army, and even Coast Guard. And this internal secondary benchmarking document, we were able to dissect the problem and being able to make further recommendation on how best to improve the part procurement process as we see it with the 723rd Maintenance Squadron. Slide, please. The primary recommendation that we came up with, from our secondary benchmarking research, was that came from Warner Robins, which they have extensive experience working with C-130s, and they are located in Georgia. In fact, Warner Robins is an air logistics center, and some of the units parts probably came from there as well in regards to supporting the 723rd Maintenance Squadron. So we're recommending that they use that for secondary benchmarking. They use Warner Robins Air Force Base as a solution or as a partner in resolving their problems. They can reach out, do SME exchange, subject matter expert exchange training with this unit in order to see how they can fix the problem as well. Slide please. Root cause analysis as it relates to the cause drivers, we're able to identify the reasons why the problem exists as stated in the problem statement. The broken parts, which can take the military aircraft out of service, and it negatively affects the unit readiness posture. The main performance gap, what we were able to do is to break down the root cause during our analysis and really highlighting the two main problems as we see it in regards to the 723rd Maintenance Squadron. We saw the parts procurement process on base was problematic, and also the vendor part procurement process was a major problem. Even if they do get only 40% of their parts from the vendors, civilian vendors, it is problematic because those parts are some of the most important parts to the aircraft. Not being able to get those parts from the vendors in a timely manner has been critical to their readiness. The base supply squadron on base, they were able to change a couple of the processes, as you would see in the recommendations. They were able to change a couple of the processes that have alleviated a lot of the problems right now. So it's left to be measured and see how that would affect, those changes will affect the unit down the line. Next, sir. So the recommendations, we've broken down from short-term and long-term. And as mentioned before, the supply squadron did set up a 24-hour shift, which we're hoping will improve the coordination with the maintenance squadron. Our plan is to have an on-call personnel be part of the warehouse unit that will learn the processes and being able to shortening our time that it takes for us to get the parts. And now another process that has alleviated a lot of the stress is the maintenance team being able to pick up their own parts from the warehouse and the supply warehouse. So that has not been the case before, but they've applied those two fixes, and it's left to be seen how well that would improve the process and make sure that the parts get in there on time and the aircraft being able to be repaired and off the ground. Long-term recommendations that we have is the hiring of the civilian to cover, to liaise with the military representation that's off base, that's somewhere within location off base. So we're trying to initiate that, and hopefully it will be taken on, and that will alleviate the connectivity communication that we have that's right now not working as well as we hoped. With the civilian liaison position, we're hoping that that communication line will be open, and our contracts, maybe they'll be able to take a look at it, renew it, making it more maintenance friendly, and being able to have those parts on time. And then also we're recommending the Spring account. That's a long term because it will take training and some type of manpower. We're not expecting it to take that long. We just need someone to be fluent and agile with this account, being able to get the high-end parts that we need for the aircrafts. Next slide, sir. The future process maps, sir, shows the changes that we expect as part of the improvement phase of the DMAIC process, the changes that we hope to affect by implementing this MVP, by implementing those changes. It shows what we foresee the C-130J Combat King aircraft routine maintenance team as being, with the if we have any other unscheduled maintenance, which we will definitely have, but we're hoping with implementing those changes, things will get better. And we expect to be able to measure those effects that those changes will have on the maintenance squadron. Next slide, sir. I will read Matthew's slide, sir. Slide 21, he says, along with the previous future process map, we have the future value state map. Someone once commented that the slide was very busy. As we saw from the previous version, the reason for the busyness is that the goal of the value state map is to identify the value added and non-value added components of the process. The non-value added components are potential points for lean principle process improvements to eliminate the waste found in these components. The future VMS demonstrates potential improvements to the MVP. One unique element to the future VSM is that the improvements to reducing the non-value elements are calculated by subtracting the future measured components of the process from the measures found in the initial map, which is in this case time, as one can see on your right on the slide. Slide, please. Here we show our implementation strategy, our approach to the installation of the process improvements. There are two types of improvements, short-term and long-term. The short-term involves implementation through maintenance unit personnel training sessions, training for being aware of and working with the supply unit's relatively new 24-hour shift schedule, as well as training for the maintenance unit working as to the proper procedure in coordination with supply or the warehouse for picking up parts. The long-term improvements are intended to be implemented at the maintenance unit command level. Maintenance quadrant to request for an on-call personnel to be assigned to the warehouse unit during the off-shift hours. Maintenance quadrant to request a civilian liaison to coordinate with maintenance personnel in procuring parts through civilian vendors, and maintenance quadrant group to assemble a team to evaluate the feasibility of obtaining a SPRAM account, special purpose recoverable authorized maintenance. Slide, please. This slide shows the implementation cost, total cost for training on the subject of supply squadron parts pickup self-service. Total cost will be 264 hours, which includes 2 training sessions and the trainer time. We established that the process will not disrupt the unit because time for general training conducted on scheduled monthly training days. Also, we established that it would take 40 hours a week, 40 hours a week, which is a long week-long process to train concerning on-call warehouse personnel, cross-training with maintenance personnel, reporting to the warehouse to learn warehouse parts processing, and it can be implemented with parts pickup training. This training may cause minor disruptions in normal operations, loss of manning due to training, but we believe it will be worth it at the end. Once the positions and accounts are established after the long term, the civilian liaison training will take about 40 man-hours, and the SPRAM account will take 8 hours. Cost for account setup and familiarization, 8 man-hours. The sum of the total recommendation cost is 352 man-hours. Slide, please. Using the future value stream map estimates, we tally time saved in cost procurement and return of investment. Supply coverage expands to 24 hours from 1 shift to 3, reduced delay by 48 hours per month. Parts pickup self-service, no more waiting an extra day for parts delivery, which will reduce delay by 48 hours per month. On-call warehouse personnel takes orders in 3 shifts, 24 hours from 1. Ordering process will be shortened by 12 hours per month. The civilian liaison streamlined the procurement process and will reduce delays in orders, which is calculated as being 72 hours per month. The special purpose recoverable authorized maintenance account, or SPRAM, will reduce the wait for special ordered parts, which is estimated savings of 475 hours per month. The total time savings and return on investment is 655 hours per month, which is a 91% reduction from 30 days to 3 days. Total man-hours required for implementation is 352 man-hours. Return on investment using 1 year as a base, which is equal to 77,860 hours saved, 352 man-hours, which is equal to a ratio of 22.32 by 1. Slide, please. the payback time, the slide shows the payback time point and the savings accumulation over the year. 352 hours is about 25 days, but we decided to round up to 30 days, that is a month, but 352 hours is still the time needed to implement the recommendations. Slide, please. Risk mitigation of the MC rate by reducing variation. From a set of data, assuming a normal distribution, one can, using the average and standard deviation, one can determine the percentage of the probability that a future data point would fall under the 82% standard. We have an Excel statistical spreadsheet that analyzes several variables from 2 different data sets before and after the implementation. This tool can be used as an annual review of the MC rate in order to compare the before and after process. This tool can be used for just about any statistical parameter found in the 723rd dashboard. There is also one tailored test as part of the tool that helps show if the difference in the data is significant and add value of 0.05. Basically, that the difference is in data is 95% likely to be a true difference. Slide, please.
Okay, moving on to the final stage of the DMAIC is the control phase. The control phase is a process. It establishes the control factors and sustains the implementations. Next slide. Oh, no, wait. You can go back, sorry. Okay, with our control plan, it'll consist of operating instructions, continuity guides, continuous measurement control aids, and statistical analysis of the efforts and process of improvement. Our operating instructions would be more in of a maintenance agreement between the maintenance personnel and the supply unit due to the cross utilization, because they're 2 different units. We'll just set up the instructions between both groups so they'll understand when the maintenance people come over to pick up the parts, they'll have the process and they'll know what to do. Continuity guides, those will be guides that will be in each section. They'll be used for the younger troops and all maintenance personnel. They'll be able to go to these guides and look to see how to fill out the part, the tags for the parts, how to turn them in, or where to go. The continuous measurement control aid is a visual aid for maintainers, production, and supervision. It gives you a visual of the process of what's supposed to be happening, and if something goes wrong, you can identify where it's going wrong, or you can identify a pattern. It also gives you measures of what to do if something that does go wrong, who's responsible for taking care of or fixing. The statistical analysis of the effects, that is a spreadsheet that we've developed, and it allows the supervision or the maintainers to put eyes on the process as it's going through. It gives a side-by-side comparison of the old process and the new process, so you can visually see the improvements. Next slide. Okay, this is the control plan. Like I said, it gives you a visual of the process of what's going on, shows you what to be measured, the definition of what's being measured, the source, the goal, the frequency, when to act, who will act, and what actions to take. We're measuring taking time that it takes the part to be ordered. Definition of the time is broken into the process of the supply. The sources, the people, the maintainers, the person, our goal for that is 1 to 2 hours. Frequency of that is daily. When to act, anything over 2 hours, since 2 hours is our goal. Who will act, production. If we find that there's a problem, the reaction is to go over and conduct the 5 whys. This will be displayed in the Pareto chart. And as you can see, it's the same for all the other areas that we have measured. Time for the parts to hit the base, time taken to pick up the parts turned in, time to fix the ops and ops check the aircraft, time the aircraft is in an NMC status. Next slide. Okay, these are our tangible and intangible results. Tangible results are results that you can measure them. You know, you can measure the percent of FMC monthly rate increase. You can measure the risk of the FMC monthly rate falling below the standards. You can measure the increase in parts availability on hands. Intangible results are more feelings or things that are understood. Improvement of the overall readiness of the 71st Rescue. The results of the parts and procurement involvement project may inspire future improvements in improving the 723rd Squadron. The reduction in stress, unit cohesiveness, so no friction between the maintenance and the supply. If we've got a streamlined process in place, you know, it improves that morale. Next slide. Okay, doing our project and the process, the team, we had some lessons learned. And we learned to collectively and efficiently integrate and display relevant data that was of the utmost important. You know, we learned to filter out what data was important, what data we could use, achieving tangible and valuable added results, the value of documenting team's progress using the MVP tracker. We overcome obstacles by the teams. We were all separated geographically in different locations of the world. You know, we learned to come together, get over that. We made that work. Better time management and prioritization. Next slide. That next slide, that one shouldn't be. Okay. No, before that, in closing out, Team Prime, we identified a problem, we defined it in a problem statement. We collected data and measured it. The data that we measured, we analyzed it and came up with an improvement plan. That improvement plan, implement it, put it in place. We used control to keep the changes and implementations in place and keep them sustained. Prime Aircraft acknowledgements. Team Prime Aircraft would like to thank the following people for their support and mentorship: Lieutenant Colonel Dunstan, Captain Mark Smith, Chief Master Sergeant Rogie, Chief Master Sergeant Velasquez, the 23rd LRS Supply Unit, and the men and women of the 71st Rescue Squad. And to all the teams and the cohorts for giving us the benchmark and ideas to keep us aligned and on track. And last but not least, but our own very own understanding faculty lead, Dr. Ernest Ellinger. Without your mentorship and guidance, we would still be defining our problem statement. And that is it for us.
Okay, thanks. What a point to stop on. Okay. Hey, I've got 35 minutes and 30 seconds for your time. So I'm going to ask each of you then, now that you completed, let's see, yep, to give a self-critique of how you think you did, things that, anything to improve on the briefing or either your part or the team. And so, who would like to start? Take a deep breath, by the way.
Well, I could start. You know, in the beginning, it was very, very rough for us, you know, trying to translate military into civilian. And I know a lot of my teammates were frustrated. And after a while, we came over it. You know, we decided to talk more. You know, we met more on our team meetings. I could say from this briefing, I was very impressed. I know my team, they put a lot of research in it, a lot of things that they knew. I know I didn't talk about, so I know that they put a lot of work into learning this, where they could brief it and understand it. So that was a wonderful thing for me.
Okay, thank you, Jerry.
I'll go.
Okay, Judith.
Well, looking at the self-critic throughout the course, I would say it went well. I was always ambivalent about signing up for any courses online, and I know that I've studied on my master's twice before, and because they were online, I decided not to pursue, and because I was deathly scared of anything to do with online classes. But this course really, I loved the environment, and the shape of the class being as small as we are was ideal for me. And I think that, and also, as we also always talk about anonymity behind the computer and not having to be face to face, and so I'm an extreme introvert. So this class kind of like gave me, um, I stepped out of my shell. Yes, I'm behind a computer. However, I'm able to express myself. I'm able to, the team encouraged each other. And yes, I'm in the military. As Jay stated, we speak one lingo, but it was great to see the guys, willing to learn, willing to step up and learn and work together. So the cohesiveness within the team was awesome. And yes, sometimes I think, being a self-critic, I'm hard on myself. I can do better, and I know that I'm a work in progress, and I can definitely do much better. Less nerves, and being able to let go of my self-doubts and do better within the class, and when it's time to brief as well, and knowing the I would say knowing the subject makes us subject matter experts, even if we didn't get a chance to visit the sites or have hands-on. But I think with the knowledge base, everybody doing their parts, we're able to become subject matter experts and comfortable within the MBP, knowing what to do and being able to help. That's my piece.
Thank you, Judith, and for the self-eval. Okay. All right.
I think for over the past year, our team has came a long way. I know when we first started, I was really, really nervous, just because I didn't know anything about the military or anything about the language, and it was really frustrating for me at first because I couldn't ever understand anything Jay was talking about, and I was just so stressed out, and I was thinking, how am I ever going to be able to do this? Like, I'm not going to be comfortable with this. But, once we figured out all the communication barriers and we dug in and we started communicating more and asking Jay questions when he was sending us stuff, things started to make sense, and we all became more comfortable in understanding the content and how we could make recommendations and improve the process, and that was correlating back to the classes that we were taking. Now, I'll agree with Judith. I'm a hard critic on myself, and for me, I just hope that I can ease my nerves more when I give presentations, because I get really nervous and doubt myself. So that is something I still am going to work on.
Great, thanks. Nicole?
I think that we've come a very long way. Like Megan said, in the beginning, like I also didn't really understand much about the military, but I was really interested in the project, and it's been interesting to learn as well. We've learned a lot as well the whole way, and learning is a process. But I think that from where we started right up to this briefing, I think that we've all really improved in how we have presented the project. I think that we've all really improved as well.
Good, thank you. Hey, I've asked Matthew as well to provide comments, and he's supposed to, so I'll direct you to the chat. Okay, and so yeah, you talked about the statistical aspect, and that is something that, as his comments indicate, perhaps are things that slide doesn't have an explanation of the tools, but instructions on the Excel spreadsheet. Yeah, yeah, we'll have to take a look at the Excel spreadsheet because that's something that was new and introduced. Let me ask you all, in preparation for this brief, as going through your practice and briefing the champion and then practice for this session tonight, anything particular that you learned as you went through the development of this final deliverable? Anything that you would want to share regards to any new insights or other things like that?
I think once I went back through the demake process and trying to see, like as we go through the whole class, we applied it, and what drew me with this presentation is as we listed all the phases and trying to make sure that yes, we did go through this and this is how it fits, this is how we utilize this process, this phase in analyzing the problem set, trying to find solutions and applying it, the control measures and so on and so forth. Yes, here and there I was like, well, maybe this one would go best with that, and because that's what it means. And I'm reading through, I'm trying to, test myself on my knowledge and how, whether this phase, this slide really fits this phase, what we accomplished during this phase, is that really for this phase specifically when looking at the demake process. So I think that what helped me this evening as we were going through it before the class started and looking, redefining, I actually, all the descriptions of the demake process, I put it on my own document, trying to place them in my head and how it fits the whole process that we went through, the MVP and so on and so forth. That helped me put it into perspective better, the understanding.
It kind of came together a little bit better, the bigger, how things came, individual parts into the whole.
Yes, sir.
Any other insights in preparation of this and the final?
I think, one of the biggest things that I learned, because I know we had a lot of data, a lot of things that we thought were the problem, but using that Pareto chart, we could look at that and we see which ones were the main causes. We looked at that 80%, and that helped put a lot of things in perspective.
I agree.
Before I give you my comments, anyone else who wanted to, share any particular insights? I see Matthew also indicated there's a difference between writing about the slides as opposed to doing a presentation. Yeah, that's true. And hopefully I'm not quite sure the specific of that, but maybe as a presentation where you're bringing everything together like Judith said. Okay. Thank you, Matthew, for your comment. Okay. Well, let me give you some of my feedback as we listen to this. And, I've been with you since the very beginning, right? This is, and sometimes it's kind of like watching. You don't know how much you progress because you're in it. And you can have some sense, but I had touch points with you throughout the year and seeing your progress as a team and also as individuals. And I'm very vested in that. I wanted to be sure each one of you were learning as well as progressing, and then you as a team in your project. And let me just say, what you presented tonight, I think, of all the presentations you've done, at least with me, this is far, far best I've ever heard. You guys indicated and you talked about the tools in a way that was far more complete than I think you ever have before. I mean, for instance, Megan, as you were going through your beginning of this, and by the way, your tone is quite confident. I did not detect, as you went through, there's a little bit of the nervousness, but you were very confident about what you wanted to say. And, talking about the champions and their relationship, here's the problem statement. Highlighting those things that are important. I think you did a very good job, particularly in talking about the DMAIC model and what its value and how it's going to be used and moving forward with that. Started out with a good introduction, and then use this. And I was then listening, and then as each one of you transitioned into these phases, did you describe it? Generally, you did. What was being involved when what you came across. This is one of the things that the problem statement is, again, what you're here to come to, and that was a important discussion. I liked when you, a little bit later on, when you talked about this as-is map, you hit a lot of the things, the inclusions and exclusions, because in define, it really is about scope. And that you included that in your briefing that is very appropriate to define. The 5 whys, I was here. Has this been in your define phase before? The 5 whys?
I think it was.
I think, yeah, I was going to say, I think it has been. I don't think we had it here the first time we met with you. Yeah.
So, and you talked about the problem. The 5 whys, it was in here. It's a little bit out of the define phase. It would be very appropriate in your analyze phase. But would you cover it and you discussed it? Because you want to go through and say, because after you do collect some data, then you'll be able to answer these 5 whys. So it's an appropriate chart. I would probably say it's a little bit more comfortable at the analyze phase. And again, as you went through, you covered the scope, the column. I think that's you also started covering the SIPOC. Covered and particularly the emphasis on the supplier. I thought you did well. Emphasizing the importance, in particular, this project, which perhaps weights it a little bit more than other teams due to the fact that you were dealing with supplies, you were dealing with parts, and that you covered this. It's a high view of the entire project. It is part of the scope, saying what's inside, and as you were going through that. In fact, you had quite a bit that you covered in your briefing. This is probably the most I've heard you brief, and you've covered it well in talking about all the summary items that we talked about here. On the data collection plan, as you went and discussed this, certainly you collected a lot of data in here. In fact, when I was going back towards the end here, when you start talking about variance, and typically when you do collection of variance, let me go back to that chart that you had it on. When you start capturing measurements over months and you start to say, what is the variance of that? That would be appropriate to have also in your define phase, in your measure phase. Because typically in your measure phase, you collect, information, data about the current state of performance. That's the important part of the measure phase. You describe, about looking at the data, checking it, to see if you have sufficient stable. And it's also, the other purpose is to define the current state. And sometimes what the current variance is would be something that would be appropriate within that. Fishbone diagram, as you go through, talked about root cause, that's appropriate. Just as a technique, use colors. Hey, here's the things we highlighted in red, and it kind of emphasizes and just lets the whoever you're briefing using the graphics to help orient on this. The Pareto chart, you talked about the 80%, and you covered the, which 3 columns under that. Well done with that. The Pareto chart, as you mentioned, provide a lot of information. Your value stream map, did you brief this one to the champion? These the value stream maps?
Yes, sir. He saw this. We briefed him on this about 3-4 weeks ago.
Yeah. And again, what was his reaction to this as he went through? Has he been involved with any type of lean training before? Was this kind of the initial indoctrination to a value stream map?
Yes, sir. He's very familiar with lean.
Okay.
I was gonna say when we were briefing it to him, he seemed like he understood it and didn't have any questions about it.
Okay. I believe he had been part of a Six Sigma project before.
Okay. All right. Yeah, Air Force usually, they have a lot of progression in that. Guys like UTC, this is like a second language to them. So you take your champion for wherever you're at. When you said this was convoluted, you're right. You just look at this, it's convoluted. It gives you that impression. You got a lot of stuff going on in here. And so I think one of the things that impressed me, the work that you did from the time we did the last briefing, you added a fair amount of substance, right? Slides that we, since we last talked?
Yes, sir. We did.
Yeah. And you really kind of briefed out additional information, I think, from your benchmarking. And really, you looked at secondary research, which is online, public domain, and then Warner Robins. Okay. Is that the Warner Robins? Is that someone that maybe continued to be a benchmarking partner for these guys?
Yes, sir. Warner Robins is it's about 2-3 hours away from us. It's just another Air Force base up the road.
What's the squiggly line here? Is that their squiggly line, or is that your squiggly line?
I think that is theirs.
Theirs, sir.
All right. Okay. So yeah, this one's kind of hanging a little bit, out there in regards to this. What I would recommend, when you get to do charts, they're kind of busy. You got a lot of, don't put so much text on it. If you do particularly an executive briefing, you just do summaries and try to keep in that, because they're not going to read each one. It's a damp sine wave representing variation. You're kind of giving a tutorial here on what a sine wave representing, those are control charts. There are going to be statistical analysis. We didn't cover those statistical analysis, R bars and averages and typical type of thing. But just for briefing, best to not put a lot of text into your slides and just kind of put the takeaway on that. And you talked about variation, and then you brought it back in later on. Here's your cost drivers. You did a lot around the financial of this. Very sound. This is a change too, right? Short term, long term, and you numbered them. Is that as I recall?
Yes,
is that correct?
sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. Did it seem smoother to you when you did that, and when you split it up, and you could talk about the two differences?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. It came across a lot better this time, guys. And then you went and showed the differences in here, and highlighted the changes. Value stream map, revisit it. Okay, good. And then you got the implementation strategy for each one of those. And then you did a really good job in talking about all the statistics and demonstration of the tools that are involved with the financial analysis and the payback period. These are all appropriate. Kind of tough, in the Air Force, because they're not on a clock. They don't think financially like a business would. Here. And this risk variation was kind of a new concept in there. This is a new addition, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah, I would say this one, if you were to introduce variation, it'd be good to have it in the measure phase. And then, because, you can reduce risk by ensuring things are more consistent. Overall, things are going to be within upper and lower limits, and that you can, count on it being consistent. And so that does kind of risk mitigation. by using that. And my question to you, though, you're recommending that they include this. In other words, this is a control chart you're going to continue to use, the Excel analysis. Is that correct?
When you're choosing that for something that they could look back at.
Okay. All right. Jay, is there anybody in that organization has had training in statistical analysis, Excel, Minitab, anything like that?
Well, we do. We call them the computer nerds. They're avionics guys. They do.
Okay. If you're going to recommend a chart like this, part of your control phase is recommend who you're going to pivot on. You know, who's going to continue to collect the data. So if you get somebody that has the capability to collect data and do this in a way, part of your control phase, be sure you include not only what the metrics are, which is appropriate here, you know, what are you going to do, but also who would you recommend, who did in the frequency. This one, I was kind of blown away with it. Your control plan and the goals that you have, and say, okay, if you hit this timeline, this is what you ought to do. You guys really developed something here that I found would probably be very helpful. Did the champion give you? Was this a chart you give to the champion as well, or is this something new that you had?
That was something that I did. I sat down and talked with him. You know, we just went back and forth, and I asked his opinion or what he thought.
Okay. All right. So yeah, and these are the things you can measure, right? Time it takes to get a part after base. Okay, so that'll be something you continue to measure. Okay, and if it takes longer, 8 to 12 hours, okay, then that's not being successful. Okay, and that's what you need to do. So you have triggers. That's very appropriate in control. They say, okay, here's a very specific thing you need to do. Here's the timeline it should take. You should measure that, and then if it starts to exceed that, here's what you need to do. So this was actually probably one of the things that I thought was fairly significant. I don't recall seeing this before, right? You haven't had this in your briefing before? Is that correct?
No, sir.
A great addition, guys. I like that.
We kind of talked about it. We just didn't have a visual. Yeah.
Okay. You kind of laid out things, and this is actually a pretty good measurement plan. These are type of things you could have time aircraft as non-mission stays, how to fix. You laid out very specific things that can be measured, and the thing like the time, for instance, conduct the 5 lights. Yeah, it's root cause analysis, but you'd also probably look and say, oh, well, just how much time, just collect time on your process chart. That's good. I like what you've laid out here, the tangible. I thought very appropriate. This reducing stress between the maintenance team and the supply guys. It always is kind of like a head button stuff. The guys that need the stuff and people try to provide them, they always don't seem to get along. And if you help that cause, you probably get heroes badges pinned on you. So that's good. Jay, do you agree?
I agree, absolutely.
Great. All right. And I like your lessons learned and insightful. This is important. I need to see what the champion actually said. So please add that into the slides with the summary, and then also into that other sheet that need to be put in. I like the fact that you acknowledge people. One of the things of her closure, and I forgot to talk about this in the class, but what you triggered here was something that I omitted, but I find to be an excellent and a best practice. At the time any improvement team disbands, you should acknowledge the people that provided you information. A lot of times what I'll have somebody in the team type up letters of certificate about people that participated, helped us. That little bit of extra of going out there and say, okay, thank you for helping us be successful. That you're part of that is part of closure, taking care of people. And sometimes in the civilian sector, project you've done well, you get promoted or you get a bonus, or they just go out and celebrate, and which you guys probably need to do, because I'm going to recommend that each one of you have met successfully the standards of the master's degree program in NGS, that you've successfully completed the academic requirements, you've developed a product and a project that's got results, and you should take pride in what you did. So I offer to you my congratulations. You're going to each receive your master's degree, and I think you did one of the best jobs I've ever seen tonight.
Woohoo! Thank
Yep.
Congratulations, team.
you.
Congratulations.
Yes, congrats, team.
It was rough, but we made it, and very impressed tonight. Very
Dun,
impressed.
dun, 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 dun.
I think we were looking forward to going to the graduation, but I guess you said they don't have one, the NBC, NEBC. But oh well.
Let me type a note to Matthew.
So I don't know if you saw his comment. He's also asking, when we get the comments from Lieutenant Colonel Dunson, does he need to drop that into the tracker when we update that slide?
Yeah, you have to slide. You're going to have to update the slide and also that MS doc where it is separate, where you signs it. That goes into the tracker along with your comments summary into the slide deck. And sometimes on the sheet itself, be sure if he says none, he puts none on it. If he has, in other words, you just accepted that. Or sometimes you may say, hey, I'll accept I need to think about the long-term ones, but I'm implementing the short-term ones. Those type of things. Sometimes there's conditions he may put in there. If he just tells you that verbally, you may want to summarize whatever feedback he gave you in the slide. And if he just put on the sign sheet no other comments, that'd be fine. But he needs to sign it. And if he has no other, there's actually on the sheet, I think it says that you should talk about, let's see if I've got it listed here. None are not in here. So, no, I don't have it called up. So, yeah, so feedback from the champions, it does go in the tracker. I need to see it. So when you get it, email me the slide deck with the comments inserted and also that MS doc. So my recommendation is contingent on his final feedback to you, just in case there is any issues. And I haven't had many in my long association with NGS, but occasionally there may be questions from the champion that he just wanted further information or clarification on. And before we release you, we want to be sure we have closure with them on that. So, and I think you're probably going to have a result here that's going to benefit these good, the Air Force, help them out with that's important, that you've done something very important here, being in the military, improving a readiness rate, improving particularly the supply and this important operations. The impact of that is probably something you may not truly appreciate. Those in uniform might be, but I also want you to take pride in the fact that you probably have made a significant contribution to this organization and what they're trying to do in their important mission. So,
just to piggyback on that, like you said, one of the recommendations was for us to add another shift to the supply unit, and they had already done that before we finished, and it's made a significant difference.
Okay, great, and continue to do that. Let me just check, see if there's any comments out here. Yeah, I know, Matthew, you've had some health issues, and I've kind of heard about that, just recently. So hopefully, Matthew, you're going to be in good shape, and then with this diploma, you guys should feel really good and do some celebrations. So let me ask if there's any other final comments. I'll just kind of go around with each of you. Either you would like to share about your experience at NGS or final comments to your team. I'll give you that opportunity at this point. So, Megan, how about we start with you?
I really enjoyed taking the courses that I did, and I'm really excited to apply some of the tools that I've learned to my organization. Lean and Six Sigma is not very strong at our organization, so I'm excited to hopefully dig into that and be able to grow and develop that. And to my team, it's been a pleasure working with you all over the past year, and none of this would have been possible without each and every one of you. And thank you so much for all the time that all of you all have put in and have helped dig in. And Jay, thank you for helping us to understand the difference between the military and being able to correlate that back to us so that we were able to understand it. And that's about all I have.
Great. Thank you. By the way, there were a lot of folks who were thinking that, at least I had a couple of teams last night as they celebrate, were thinking we should go celebrate over where your workplace is.
Yeah. Well, you may not want to come tomorrow because it's snowing right now, so it might be a little slippery of a drive. Yeah, we're supposed to get like 5 inches of snow tonight.
Yeah, same. DeCarlo, how about comments from you? Any further?
I just want to say thank you to you and thank you to the team. We've worked very well together. I've learned a lot, and some of these tools I've also used at work as well. So I've learned a lot, and I'm glad that with this course I was able to really learn things that I could really just go and implement at work as well. So that's really great. Thank you.
And also thank you for your dedication. You know, it's very difficult, the distance. Not only is it difficult to do this online, but being such a far away, and also the fact that you're probably adjusting a lot to the American culture about how things get done. I know that is significant. So thank you.
Yeah, that is very true. It's a very different way of doing things, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, let's see. Does Matthew have any other? Okay, and Jay, do you have anything else?
I do. Well, first of all, to the team, bravo. Very, very outstanding presentation tonight. You know, the information that they've taken and they've learned and how to translate it, it was very, very impressive. For a while, I didn't think we was going to make it, but we did. NGS, I feel comfortable that if anybody gave me a project and say, hey, work this, I feel comfortable with taking it, being able to work it and come out with positive results. I did learn a lot from this. I learned different ways to look at things because we do this in the military all the time, but we call it different things. And this gave me a different focus on it. So it did. I got a lot out of it.
And I know let me just final comments is that as a team, normally we don't have large teams like this. And because of the circumstance we had at the very beginning where the projects weren't available, we had to, and so the dynamic, coordinating your all multiple schedules is challenging. It's challenging to do this online. And the fact that you are also then involved with another culture, language, and system, commendable for each of you picked it up. One of the things I find in students I've taught through the years is that sometimes 10 or 15 years later, I will bump into them. I relate to a team last night. I was in the Pentagon. There was an individual, a senior individual, an SES actually, a senior executive, that was in my class when she was GS-12, which is a much lower level. And she said afterwards, we had a chance to chat a bit. She said this course, this degree, taught her so much that she didn't realize when she was going through that she used over and over again. What is the lessons about team dynamics? Okay, both the good stuff and all the bumpy stuff. I hope you learn from that because you'll probably encounter people, on different, personalities, outcomes and things, and a lot of the tools and approaches. I hope you reflect back and then able to use some of the things that you've learned here. the tools that you've learned, problem solving, making better decisions, using this, these are so invaluable in almost every other circumstance. I find personally, I use these in a lot of different ways, not just in my work environment. And so hopefully you'll have that same experience, that you'll get a good gain out of this degree that you hadn't anticipate. Almost every student I bump into later on reflects that. I hope that is your case, that you get a lifelong return out of this. And I wish you much success in your future. It's been my pleasure being with you and seeing you grow throughout this year. And if you ever need a reference then for other things, if you're going for project management, certification, etc., don't hesitate to contact me. I'd be glad to be a reference for you. So those are my final comments to you. Be sure that this gets uploaded to the tracker. And I wish you all a good evening. So congratulations once again.
Thank you, sir. Been a pleasure.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Good night.
We'll celebrate.
Good night. Thank you.
Bye. And thanks, Matthew, for your leadership. And I found this to be a quite an extraordinary experience. And thank you for also being taking up the role of leadership and helping with this team and contributions you have. So thank you very much for that, and wish you well.